This is a Steen Super Skybolt. The super meaning that it has over 300 horse. This is a 370 horse engine. The aircraft was built by two very expert biplane builders by the name of John Watt and Bill Hill. John was a Canadian airline pilot, and he had previously built a Skybolt that won a trophy at Oshkosh. And Bill Hill built over 100 Skybolt airframes for Steen. He also worked for Lou Stolp building Stardusters and also building pits for Curtis Pitts and for Art Scholl. So it has a very good lineage in terms of the build that went behind it. And these gentlemen, despite having built complete Skybolts before, they wanted to build the ultimate Skybolt. And when they put pen to paper and started talking about what they needed to do to modify their existing aircraft, they decided, you know what? We should just build it from scratch. So they started from square one, built this thing with all of these modifications in mind, and have achieved what I think is just one of the most marvelous airplanes I've ever seen. She won a Bronze Lindy 2021 in Oshkosh. And why don't I tell you a little bit more about what we're looking at in the machine here. So it's powered by a Lycoming AEIO 540 A2B, 370 horse. It was built by Firewall Forward. Originally, this engine came out of a Piper Navajo. And part of the reason they chose this engine was because the exhaust comes off the top of the cylinders, which allowed them to do this Warbird style exhaust.
And you have one of these on each side that comes out of the side.
Correct.
That's wild. Look at that.
Getting into some of the additional modifications, we've got a Hartzell Claw propeller, which of course is the aerobatic propeller of choice. They took most of the dihedral out of the upper wing, changed the angle of incidence, so it's definitely a lot more responsive and flies a lot more like a Pitts than a Decathlon, like most people think a Skybolt is like. They straightened the landing gear to give more legroom to the front passenger. They extended the ailerons an additional bay, adding a third hinges on the rudder and elevator to really reinforce it.
So there's 1, 2, 3, and the same on the top.
They also widened the fuselage 4 inches, made it 4 inches longer, and reclined the seat more so it would be more comfortable as a cross-country machine. Did some other cool little things. They ran the crankcase breather tube down behind by the tail wheel so that it's not blowing oil all over the fuselage.
So that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good.
So it's got full inverted fuel oil smoke system. It's got wiring for wingtip smoke generators. It's got camera mounts, one on the tail here, one over there. Let's take a look inside. So this airplane, unlike most aerobatic biplanes, has an autopilot. It's got electric aileron trim, and it's got digital engine monitoring. It's got ADS-B out through the transponder with Wi-Fi. It gives me traffic and radar on my iPad.
And am I seeing the ground through the floor?
You are, yes. Those are plexiglass panels, aid in maintaining your orientation while performing aerobatic routines.
And is this a parachute?
It is. It's a softie made by Paraphernalia. That's your backup chute. The aircraft is your primary chute.
This is an emergency canopy ejector, I take it, the red thing?
Yeah, so this is a very unique design, actually. The traditional Skybolt canopy typically would open vertically from the front and sit backwards on the fuselage here, which causes a lot of chafing right here. Mm-hmm. And one of the problems with that design is if you were to end up on your back, you wouldn't get out because you can't open the canopy up like that. This one slides rearward and then opens sideways. So even if you were on your back, you could still open this far enough to climb out of the airplane.
Very good.
But it also has the emergency release as well, where you would pull this handle and then release that red handle, slide it back and toss it to the side.
I see. And it is a 2-place airplane.
It is. Full controls front and rear.
And do I see a tank down here, an extra tank?
Yes, so that is the fuselage tank. That's the main tank, holds 36 gallons.
Okay.
Got 10.5 gallons in the top wing, which gravity feeds into that tank once you've burned down some. And then the aircraft also has an auxiliary belly tank that mounts underneath, giving it an additional 17 gallons for cross-country fuel.
Man, that thing looks beautiful out there in the sun, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Good night, that's a beautiful airplane. And I'm not just buttering you up, I think it's a beautiful airplane.
Thank you.
I love airplanes, but this one here is just over the top.
I know. I couldn't say no when I first saw it. Took a little courage to learn to fly it.
Did it?
Didn't fly at all like the factory airplane. No, it was very, very responsive.
Does that mean it was squirrely or not?
I wouldn't go so far as to say squirrely, but very responsive. It's definitely, it's more landable than a Pitts because it has a longer wheelbase and
Yes.
a little bit of a wider stance.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why the insurance company only needed me to get 5 make and model to insure me in this, whereas to do a Kristen or a Pitts, they were going to want like 25 plus hours in
Really?
in make and model. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's despite being a 6,500 hour pilot with 450 tail wheel. She cruises about 135 knots true on about 14 gallons an hour, around 8,000 feet or so. Fly the pattern at 90 knots, land at 80, take off at 80.
Well, that isn't too bad.
Not too bad. It feels fast. And for anyone who's flown tail draggers with big noses on it, you can't see anything in front of you, so you gotta lean your head out the side and do the best you can to kind of see the center line.
You know, you get used to that, don't you?
Yeah, it takes a little time, but you do. One of the things that's most important about this aircraft is carrying on the legacy of the men who built it. Sadly, as the story went, after these guys labored over 15 years to build this and finally had it perfectly mastered, John Watt went to fly it to Oshkosh to submit it for the competition, and unfortunately wasn't feeling well, so he turned around and went home. He passed away 3 months later. It was very sad. So the gentleman that I purchased it from, I'm the third owner, his name was Mike Roach. He bought it from the estate, and he put on a little placard here in memory of Bill Hill, the primary builder, and of course the Lindy Trophy winner sticky there. And so, you know, Mike was very adamant when he was considering selling this to me to know that I was the right person to carry the trophy and carry on the legacy of these men, because this is a masterpiece that, you know, at least the rest of us can appreciate on their behalf. It's such a wonderful airplane.
And with this video making, I am finding out people love their airplanes, especially if they built them. They love them. And
Oh.
I totally understand that. They want to pass it on to the right person.
Yeah, you could feel their spirits in it and it took a long time for it to warm up to me, because this airplane has more spirit than you would ever imagine a machine could have. It certainly has taken some time, but I come down and just look at it in the hangar. You know, I don't even have to go fly it. It's just so pretty to just sit there and stare at.
And tell me about this, the Watt the Hill builder.
Watt the Hill builders, because it was John Watt and Bill Hill. So they thought that would be cute to call themselves Watt the Hill builders.
I like it.
Isn't that cute?
I really like it.
I love it, yeah.